I'd like to welcome you to the FY25 HUD Annual Action Plan public hearing. My name's Todd Fleming. I'm the Community Grants Administrator. We have other CIP and planning staff here. We have Chelsea.
Vincent.
Do not say that name. We have Jeff Belanger, the Director of our office, Dan Orr, Mike Landry, Nicole Dubois, and Emily Welch. First, I guess we'll talk about the agenda. I'm doing the introduction. We're going to have an overview of the process for the action plan. We're going to have presentations on projects that have been funded in the past or are currently funded with HUD entitlement funding, and then we will open it up for public comment and questions. So, what is the annual action plan? Annual action plan is a blueprint for how we'll spend our funding, our entitlement funding in the coming year. Part of the process, RFPs are solicited from nonprofit organizations, city department as part of the city's FY25 budget process. We receive public feedback, staff. We make annual recommendations for funding based on evaluations that we make and public comment. And it's important to note that projects and programs funded must also meet one of our HUD 2020 through 2024 consolidated plan goals. We have 19 goals. Those goals are included in the handout. All the projects that are funded with HUD entitlement funding must meet one of HUD's national objectives. The main one, which most of these programs and projects meet, is that they have to have a benefit to low and moderate income persons. Low income would be 0 to 30% of AMI. Moderate income would be 30. Well, actually, there's three categories. There's very low, which is 0 to 30. There's low, which is 30 to 50, and then moderate is up to 80% AMI. The other objectives: prevent or eliminate slums or blight. That could be taking down a building that's been basically, burned as a result of fire, something along those. And then the third one, address urgent needs such as serious and immediate threats to health or welfare of the community. All right, so there we have the 19 action plan goals. You can see increase the number of affordable housing, address homelessness issues are a few, increase Manchester High School graduation rate. I'm not going to read all of them, but those are included in our consolidated plan. They're in your handout. And then we also have priority needs. So, let's see. Basically, as I said before, we're holding this public hearing to solicit comments on community needs and the expenditure of approximately $3.5 million of entitlement funding. And with that, we're going to talk about funding levels and turning it over to Nicole. Wherever you're comfortable.
So one of the types of HUD funding we receive is the Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG for short. This is the largest chunk of HUD funding that we receive, with a typical annual allocation of $1.6 million. In FY23, we received $1,631,806 of that CDBG funding. There's quite a few different types of projects or programs that are funded with this CDBG money. One of those is planning and administration, and that's funding that supports the city staff who are responsible for administering the HUD programs. And it also supports the planning studies for things such as master plans, zoning rewrites, and the consolidated plan. The public service programs are also funded by CDBG. There's about 15 agencies and 4 city departments who are funded through the public service cap, as well as the community-based development organization. And some of the programs and projects included in the public service programs are not limited to healthcare, youth recreation, support services for abused and neglected children, community policing, emergency shelter for the homeless, employment training, interpretation services, support services for new citizens, and Meals on Wheels. The next one would be public facility improvements. This is going to be improvements to city parks and residential neighborhoods for things such as streets, sidewalks, curbing, and tree planting. There's also capital improvements to public buildings that provide service to low-income individuals. The next is concentrated code enforcement, which you will hear a little more about later on, but basically it's to stabilize and improve the conditions of rental housing opportunities to low and moderate income areas within the city. And then lastly, economic development, and this includes programs or projects that create or retain jobs for low-income individuals.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. Now we're going to move on to Emergency Solution Grant Program. The annual allocation for that is, unfortunately, it's very low. It's approximately $150,000. Last year, we received just under $149,000. These are for programs and projects that primarily address homelessness. Includes, administering the program, HMIS reporting, which is HUD mandated reporting, and homelessness prevention and rapid rehousing. Those are programs basically that could provide rental subsidies, security deposits, also counseling, and then emergency shelter operations. Okay, now Dan's going to talk about home funding.
Sure. So yes, our third source of HUD funding is the Home Investment Partnership, otherwise known as the Home Program. Annual allocation is about $700,000 as of last year, $773,000. On-program funds for FY25 is approximately $900,000. So this covers kind of a slew of our home housing programs, including the first-time home buyer assistance, tenant-based rental assistance, security deposits, and the development of affordable housing. I'd say that last one is really kind of where the rubber meets the road a lot for a lot of our projects that we administer. I can give you a few examples that we've worked on over the past several years. One is the recently completed Renew 2 project off of Elm Street, and that created approximately 40 affordable units, and that was developed by NeighborWorks. Soon to be completed, we have Kelly Falls. That's in the west side off of Kimball Street, involves the construction of 48 units by the MHRA. And lastly, we have the ground-up construction project taking place on Chestnut Street, which will be I believe our largest affordable housing new construction project in the city. That's going to be a total of 142 units.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Now, Chelsea is going to talk about our lead and healthy homes program.
Yes, so among the other funding that everybody else was talking about, the city also receives other HUD funds in the form of a lead hazard reduction grant and a healthy homes production grant. I am the lead program manager, so I administer the lead hazard reduction grant. We received this grant in fall of 2022, and it's about $5.4 million that we received from HUD, and our goal is to support 200 units of housing by the end of 2026. Since April of last year, our program has made 42 units of housing lead safe in the city of Manchester. It's important to note for this grant funding that our goal is to support low to moderate income individuals, so underneath the 80% AMI. And not only are we making units lead safe, but our goal is to make the entirety of homes lead safe. So not the units that people are living in, but also the common areas and the exteriors as well. For this lead program, I have pamphlets up front if anybody would like to take any, but we offer up to $13,500 per unit in funding with a minimum 10% property owner match. We also have other levels of funding that we can tap into as well, given the lead hazards that are present in the city. The state lead loan, the state provides a state lead remediation loan fund for about $3 million that we're able to tap into if property owners are having issues coming up with their property owner match. Along those same lines, we also have a $1.9 million Healthy Homes Production Grant Program. The goal of this program is to also support low to moderate income families in making their units healthy. So it could be for electrical systems, repairs and upgrades for roofing, plumbing, heating and ventilation systems, integrated pest management, mold remediation, radon mitigation, asbestos testing and removal, as well as other ADA upgrades. That funding is in the form of up to $10,000 per unit with a minimum 10% property owner match as well.
Thanks, Bill. Okay, we also collaborate with Manchester Continuum Care, and Anne's going to
Sure. So,
talk about that.
yeah, Manchester Continuum of Care, we received an allocation of about 2.8 million. That was as of fiscal year 23. So this activity really goes towards another round of activities, kind of supporting our partners in the community regarding traditional housing, permanent housing, rapid rehousing, coordinated entry, homelessness management information system. That's the HMIS system that really coordinates all of our homelessness-related data, and also the youth homelessness demonstration program. My understanding is this funding source really supports about 15 to 20 projects annually. It's administered through the HUD Notice of Funding Opportunity process. So basically, it's systemically bringing all of our stakeholders and organizations impacting homelessness collaboratively.
Thanks, Dan. As far as the timeline for our annual action plan, January, February, we received RFPs from city departments, nonprofits. Basically, at this time, we're doing our citizen participation by having this public hearing, and the input that we receive will help us make our recommendations for the city's CIP budget. In April, CIP staff will be working on completing the draft of our annual action plan. We'll make that annual action plan available for the public to review. Again, public will have the opportunity to comment on what's in the plan, and then in mid-May, we'll submit our final plan to HUD. Hopefully, HUD will review our plan and approve the plan, and as part of that process, our HUD FY24 funding will be approved and available for projects and programs that are funded as part of the city's FY25 CIP budget. So again, if anyone would like to submit written comments, they can submit them to CIP staff. The email information is on the slide. They can send the email to one of the staff, and we'll include that as a part of our annual action plan. There's also a link on that slide to the city's 5-year consolidated plan as well. And what happened? Okay. Yeah. At this point, we're going to go to our presentations. And Adrienne Aloyne, Director of Department of Housing Stability, is first.
Hi everyone, this will be brief, like 5 minutes, right? And I unfortunately have to leave right after, I'm sorry. So if people do have questions, is it okay if they ask them right after I'm done? Or does that work?
Sure.
Okay. All right, thank you. So my name is Adrienne Aloyne. I'm the Director of Housing Stability for the City of Manchester. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the programming that we use CDBG funding for this year currently, and that is the programming of East Street Shelter. So we have a shelter there and an engagement center. I'll tell you more about those things. I did want to point out that our current funding year is mostly these projects are funded by ARPA funding, and that funding is American Rescue Plan Act funding. That's going away at the end of this year, so it's a smaller amount than the CDBG funding for this project, to give you a sense. So in February 2023, not so long after I started this position with the city, we were in a crisis in Manchester with homelessness. We're still in a crisis with homelessness in Manchester. We continue to expect we will be for some time, as the country is. However, at that time, we were particularly concerned from the city of Manchester's perspective about the outside unsheltered homelessness, which is just one portion of the homelessness issue that we need to tackle. So with the focus of crisis response being on unsheltered, outside homeless individuals, we focused our city attention and efforts to fund an emergency shelter. And that emergency shelter's purpose was to provide an alternative to outside encampments. And in order to do that, it's not an easy match for people who are living in outside encampments or other outside places not meant for human habitation to agree to go into an emergency shelter, because traditionally emergency shelters are more structured and more difficult for people to contend with than when they're on their own and they can kind of make their own decisions, which is understandable. The emergency shelter that we opened at Beach Street sought to try to provide some low barrier opportunities for those folks that we thought that they would accept, so that some of them could participate in the emergency shelter, and some of them did. So we were pleased with that outcome. It's a 40-bed shelter. It's been a 40-bed shelter the entire time that we've been open this year. It started out thinking that we'd have it open for a couple of months, and then we would extend it, and then we would extend it again, and then we extended it throughout the year. And we're going to continue to extend it because this added capacity of 40 additional beds for individuals that are men and women has been a help. It's not at all meeting the needs of what we need, but it has been an important capacity increase in our city. The way that I look at this issue with emergency shelter is that we need to have emergency shelter right now for the folks that need to have it. All of our beds are full every single night since February. We have a long wait list of people waiting to get into those beds when they turn over. Our shelters in our other capacities are mostly full. So unprecedentedly, we've been full with all of our shelter capacity. Having this capacity continue is important. And then also driving forward goals to transition away from emergency shelter and actually have programs like mine turn into things that are more housing first focused, like rapid rehousing, like permanent supportive housing, right? So we're kind of starting with a crisis response, trying to get people inside, trying to stabilize folks, trying to count them, get data, understand what their needs are, who they are, and then the idea is working with the COC as a group, how can we make decisions together in the city so that we can actually have the amount of emergency shelter go down as the amount of other housing first programming go up, so that people can move out of homelessness, and emergency shelter won't do that on its own, if that makes any sense. So our emergency shelter is low barrier, I mentioned. Some of the things that we do there that were helpful to try to convince some people to try emergency shelter other, and that's actually super important for them to have that proximity. So having couples stay together, having a lot of storage available, so we knew if folks were going to come in with tents and other large items that they were really happy to be staying with outside on their own, that if we could give them a place to put that where they could access it frequently, then that was, again, another way to draw them in and engage them in our programming, and that has worked for some folks too. Again, very difficult to operationally manage that. It takes a lot of staff and coordination in order to try to keep up with that kind of service. Some of the other things that we do at the shelter is we try to be very flexible about the times people can come in so that we increase their likelihood to continue to stay with us. We try to accommodate them in whichever way we can. We've actually done a lot of kind of medical accommodations, which I don't feel super comfortable with because it's not the right place for people to be getting their medical care needs met. But unfortunately, we don't have another option. So, for example, I saw someone today when I was there, and this woman has had 8 of her toes removed while she's been with us for the last 8 months of living with us in the shelter. So she will have surgery, come back, and this is where she recovers. Nurses come and see her inside the shelter. This is not the way this is supposed to be going. So it's unfortunate, and we're kind of a hodgepodge of trying to do what we can. And like I said, the goal is to get out of the business of this kind of care because it's inappropriate for people to be in this setting, in the condition that they're in, and move into more programming that is actually better practices. The other thing that we added is shelter alone doesn't help anyone get out of homelessness. In September, we were able to expand the space at 39 Beach Street. This is where the shelter is. And create a daytime space where we could have case management services. The model is a HUD model, so this is where we saved some money because we only had so much funding to create the operations. We created a HUD model, which means my staff are operations staff, so they just kind of make sure people are in and out of the building, they're doing the documentation on HMIS, they're making sure things are safe in the bathroom, they're trying to coordinate the basics and the meals and the things that people need on site. But on top of that, we need other people to do the manpower of housing applications, connecting them to mental health services, connecting them to behavioral health services and substance use treatment, healthcare, all of those other things, vital records, all of the things people need. So what we do is we have the local outreach teams that are always looking to serve, especially the street homeless population, like healthcare for the homeless, the mental health center of Greater Manchester, the veterans groups. We're having them come on site at the engagement center to do what they already are trying to do in the community, and they have more of a captive audience of the folks that they're trying to serve, and they also have a chance to run into them more often without appointments and being on demand. So that's the model, and it's been working pretty well, and I'm going to be putting a presentation together now that we've been operating for quite a few months since September with both programs in motion. And that presentation should be done in a few days, and you should be checking back on my website if there's anything about homelessness in the city that you'd like to get information on, or contact me, or get any of these presentations or data points that I've been collecting. And that's just on the City of Manchester website if you go to HUD Accessibility. So those are the basics of what we do at the engagement center and the shelter. The concept again is draw people in and engage them in any which way you can, offer meals, be very low threshold about who comes in, how long they stay, how often they come. There's not a lot of rules, and the idea is that you build trust and people start to get more traction and layer in those services so that people are tripping over them. And it's even if they're not interested for the first month of coming to the engagement center, maybe on month 2.5, they start to be curious about someone that they keep seeing come in, and they're wondering if they might trust them to talk to them. And to date, what we have served, just sharing some numbers with you all, and I'll ask you if you have any questions, is to date, since we've been open as the shelter all the way through with the add-on of the engagement center, we've served approximately 431 individuals. About 25% of those individuals are over the age of 55. That might be surprising to some people, that we're skewing older in this population for a significant part. 81% of them report being disabled. 40% report having chronic health issues. We also see that a lot. We have quite a few wheelchairs there, quite a few walkers, quite a few nursing visits going on regularly for folks. 55% of them report having mental health issues. More than half of our folks have 0 income, so many more have obviously extremely low income and qualify for this funding. But I think it's interesting to think that 50% of our folks have 0 income, completely 0. 50% of our folks report using substances and having issues with that, and 35% of our folks are chronically homeless. So that means that you've been homeless consistently for at least a year, or you've had multiple episodes within a few years. So chronic homelessness really represents folks that have intractable barriers to housing and really, really difficult things to overcome. And that's why the services we provide on site seek to help people get their identifications, settle their legal issues, mitigate some of their housing navigation issues, and hopefully get them into housing. And of course, we have another issue of not into housing, but that's another talk. So those are our services that we are using CDBG funding for, and I would love to know any questions you have. Thank you.
Thanks, Adrian. So next we have Ted Seeley, who's going to tell us a little bit about the residences at Chestnut Street development, which is currently under construction.
Yes, thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Ted Seeley with Lincoln Avenue Communities. I'm a senior project manager currently working on a project as I mentioned. This is a 2-building, 142 unit affordable housing project. It's all affordable, serving families earning 60% of area median income and below. The development is also setting aside units for veterans and their families with BASH Section 8 project-based vouchers, as well as general population Section 8 project-based vouchers. The project was funded through a multitude of sources, primarily 4% low-income housing tax credits, the tax exempt bonds administered through New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority, but importantly, the City of Manchester also put in funds to the project in the form of home investment partnerships program funds, home ARP funds, as was mentioned, ARP, and state and local fiscal recovery funds. The process of obtaining funding for a project like this and of this scale is it's a very public process, and funds were allocated to the project from the City of Manchester over the course of a 2-year period, and without which this project would not have occurred. So it was crucial to have the city's partner. And as many folks have seen and as mentioned, the project is currently under construction with an anticipated completion date in 2025. So we worked closely with the Department of Planning and Development and the Community Improvement Program under Todd's leadership. Everyone was great to work with, and it really made all the difference in making this possible. So as a result, we're able to bring 142 units and potentially even more phase 2 upcoming to the community. Thank you very much. If anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Ted. So now we're going to have Officer Duquette, and he's going to talk about community policing.
I'll come up front so you don't have to turn around. I'm Officer Steve Duquette. Of course, I work for the Manchester Police Department. I'm in community policing, and my title is a Senior Service Officer. I think I'll talk a little bit more about what type of funding I get, amounts and things like that. I'll just kind of give you a run through of what I do. I primarily work, of course, with seniors and with adult protective services. we investigate crimes against seniors. It could be physical abuse, it could be financial exploitation, things like that. So anybody here, everybody in the state of New Hampshire is a mandated reporter of senior abuse, just like child abuse. So when you report it to the state, it then gets distributed throughout the towns and cities, and then the social workers for the state, Adult Protective Services, then will call me, or they send me a fax actually, and then they'll call. And if it's anything of substance, we'll go out and we'll investigate it together. So they make my job actually fairly easy, because the state says they can pretty much get anything they want without warrants and things like that, so it makes my job fairly easy. Outside of that, I do senior walks. I'm sure some of you have seen the senior walks, so I plan those, coordinate those twice a year. It's a 10-week thing, so 10 weeks in the spring, 10 weeks in the fall. I walk with a bunch of senior citizens. Anybody's invited though. People bring dogs, kids, but it's a good time. We get out, we get to see Manchester, they feel safe, those types of things. I also, my position coordinates the Citizens Police Academy. I think someone here has taken the course before. So that's an 8-week program that runs in the spring and in the fall. And that's where you get to learn about the police department. I did write some stuff down here so I don't forget. Part of a couple committees with the AG's office, Manchester Regional Area Coalition on Aging. So pretty much anything senior related. They reach out to me. I usually attend these meetings and give my input if I have any. And so they bounce ideas off of me, And so one thing that I do on a regular basis, I always field phone calls from senior living facilities or seniors themselves. So sometimes I can spend half an hour to an hour talking with somebody who lives by themselves, who is maybe falling into a scam, or they just have a question about something, and then they don't have a lot of people to talk to, maybe not too many friends, and then before you know it, I'm on the phone for an hour with them, chit-chatting. So some people don't know how to, it's kind of hard to put work on that, but I kind of create that bridge, across the gap between the seniors in our community, which is the fastest rising population in our city, which is now I think around 27%, and the police department. So, of course, the aging community, they have a direct connection with the police department through me. And I take it very serious. I've become friends with a lot of them. They're a good time. I get a lot of scam presentations, senior living facilities, some of the housing buildings. I probably give one to 3 a month. And this is where I go into presentation like this, where I talk about scams for an hour, and hopefully someone doesn't fall victim to it. And then I hand out these cards I made, scam awareness cards, hand them out, because one of the biggest things that I've noticed is that somebody who's older, sometimes have memory issues. And the reason why they fall victim to a scam is because they forgot what they did last week. And they keep falling to the same scam. So if they have that scam awareness card by their phone, they might actually hang up the phone. They might read that, they might hang up. So it's one of those things that the more we get it out there, the better. The senior light tour, I plan that in right before Christmas. Not a party planner, but I think I do a pretty good job. But that's where we take 150 seniors around town in buses, donated by the MTA, and we look at lights, and then we go back to the PAL building, and we have a party for about an hour, hour and a half. Kind of goes into their bedtime, so everybody starts to get up around 7:45, and they start walking out, but it's a great time, live entertainment, food, things like that. So we have a good time with that. I managed a Just In Case program. So the Just In Case program is for vulnerable people. It used to be for vulnerable adults. Now it's for children also. So it's a database that we keep, that dispatch can see. So if you have a son who say has autism and he gets violent sometimes and he doesn't like police lights. So that person, the parent could call me. I would create a master name index file for them with the notes saying that, everything about their child, and what they like and they don't like, those types of things. So we also do it for, of course, someone who has dementia. Because I can tell you right now, if Sally wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning and Johnny's gone and he is wandering, how quickly can she call us? We get over there, find a photo of him, send it out to police officers who are looking for him. It's going to take a little while. So, a loved one, family member, they will call me. They will then do this just in case program. They'll file the person's name. So when dispatch gets that phone call from so-and-so's address and says so-and-so's missing, within 30 seconds, all the officers that are looking for that person has a photo of that current photo, height, weight, where they like to go, if we run into that person, what they like to talk about, don't talk about that, triggers, things like that. So it's fairly utilized. I wish it was more utilized, but we do work with the Moore Center and Easter Seals and things like that. I'm also part of the Neighborhood Watch, Neighborhood Enhancement Team. It's called the NET Team. This is where we go around with city officials and look at or check out problem addresses. It could be hoarding, it could be unregistered vehicles, trash out of the yards, a complaint, usually just civil issues, and neighborhood watch groups. Neighborhood watch groups, they'll reach out to me. I don't run any of the watch groups, but I will give advice how to start one. We will then show up to some of these watch groups when they want us. We have the Rimmon Heights group, which is very popular. We go every month. They have a party once a year. They're great. We like to attend it. They ask us questions, and it's great. We used to have a lot more of them. Ever since COVID, they've sort of gone down a little bit, but they're starting to come back. Any questions for me?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and this particular program gets funded both as part of the city budget and CDBG funds are used to support this program. And last but not least, the closer, Mike Landry.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mike Landry. I'm with the Department of Planning and Community Development. I'm here to talk about concentrated code enforcement. And when we talk about that, what we're talking about is we have 2 code enforcement inspectors who are dedicated to housing code enforcement within the low-income census tract. So when we talk about the low-income census tract, we're talking about some of our more densely populated neighborhoods, which are largely, consisting of, some of our older housing stock. So I think, with respect to, Todd mentioning HUD's goals about, preventing or eliminating slums or blight, or addressing threats to health or welfare of the community, our 2 concentrated code enforcement officers really address that. So when we talk about enforcing the housing code, Manchester has its own housing code. It's one of the few communities in New Hampshire with a housing code, but we're pretty much the only community in New Hampshire that has mandatory inspections of dwelling units. So, and when we go out and inspect for dwelling units, we're making sure that these dwelling units meet the minimum housing standards, and the minimum housing standards are set forth by New Hampshire statute. Our proprietary Manchester Housing Code kind of embellishes upon that, but generally speaking, we're talking about premises that are free from, insect, pest, and rodent infestations, working plumbing systems, electrical systems don't have exposed wires or improper connections. We don't have leaks in the walls or the roofs, no falling plaster or chipped paint, and all interior surfaces are free from defective conditions. Another important thing is porches, stairs, and railing are structurally sound. Sometimes deferred maintenance can result in unsafe conditions, and our inspectors catch those and address them. Another important thing is accumulation of garbage and on the premises and within the common hallways. It's important to keep clear egress to be able to escape in an emergency. We ensure that there's adequate hot water and drinking water. and that there are no gas leaks. Heat during the wintertime is an important thing. We make sure that we ensure that every unit has sufficient heat. So that's we look for those things on a regular basis during our COC, certificate of compliance inspections. And every building that passes, the minimum housing standards gets a certificate of compliance, and that's good for 3 years, and we leave them alone. However, if something does come up, tenants are always free to contact the Planning Community Development Department and file a housing complaint. When we get housing complaints, they are a priority for us, and we get out there within, that day or the next day. We make contact with the tenant, and we make sure we go out and observe the conditions for ourselves, and make sure that the landlord fixes it. Just in general numbers, we have our full complement of housing inspectors is 6. Currently, we have an opening, but our 2 concentrated code enforcement, inspectors inspected over 1,500 dwelling units during fiscal year 2023, and they identified and addressed more than 3,000 housing violations. As far as housing complaints that were made during that fiscal year, we received 64 complaints, and we addressed 190 violations. So, we're out there all throughout the city, but, our concentrated code inspectors are in the, again, the more densely populated neighborhoods with the aging housing stock, and I think that's a very important thing to maintain minimum housing standards. And with that, I'll entertain any questions. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I would note that, both those concentrated code enforcement positions are fully funded with CDBG funding. That concludes our presentations, and at this point we would open it up for public comment. And if you have a comment, I would ask you to state your name, if you're from an organization, or state that as well, so that we can record your comments and include them in our annual action plan. So, who's first?
I'll go first.
All right.
My name is Mary Heath. I've lived in Manchester all my life. I worked in the city, but I also was a former alderman. Right now, I'm a state rep, and I represent wards 2, 4, 5, and 7. I just want to thank all of you. It's amazing. Being an alderman, I know how hard all of you work, and everybody here is dedicated to our city. But the reason why I'm here today is City Year, an organization that's definitely near and dear to my heart. I've watched it for over 10 years, maybe 15 years, and I've watched the young men and women who provide the services. I've watched the children within our poorest of schools benefit from the services that are provided for them in English language arts, mathematics, but more the social, emotional area. So many of the children during COVID experienced so many hardships. So it just has made such a difference. And I always use the example of Matt Wilhelm. I always call him my famous City Year boy. He's all grown up, and he's actually the minority leader in the New Hampshire House right now, but he really epitomizes all of the goals and objectives that you see in City Year. And this young man right here, who I've known for many, many years, as a young man, because I'm older, he has been a City Year deliverer of services, and now is, I don't know what to say your exact name is, but anyway, I'm here to ask the support of City Year, and can I say how much money I'd like to have? I'd like to see if I possibly could request about $150,000. I'm a former board member for City Year, and most of the City Year corporations across the country get a benefit, a huge amount of money from the local municipality within which they work. And that doesn't happen here. So they rely heavily on donations. Pond is always out working hard to raise funds wherever she possibly can. We have some wonderful benefactors who have been very, very good to City Year. But the $150,000 is critical to the program right now. And it's a program that just, it does all of the things that we talk about when we talk about CDBG money. So I hope that you will consider City Year, and I'm sure you're going to hear a lot more about it. But I just want to say, just watching what they have done for the children in our schools, for the young adults who work in the programs, we are creating good citizens and giving children hope that they might not possibly have if it weren't for the City Year workers. So thank you. And I'd be happy to answer any questions, but I'll give them to Chris to answer.
Okay. More comments?
Talking back.
I can go.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for your presentation. It's really great to learn. Also, good to know more about the COC process. So it's wild that you're coming soon. My name is Jason Bonilla. I am currently a school board member representing this board. So glad to have this all in my backyard. I literally live like 30 seconds away from here. So I'm here on behalf of City Year. So City Year to me is a reason why I'm a school board member today, representing the smallest board in the city of Manchester, the most, I think, my personal opinion, the most diverse board in the city. I also look like the city I represent, part of the city I represent. So for me, I came into City Year in 2014. I was once a younger gentleman. I came into the program when I was 24 years old, got out of high school, and I really didn't see much in my life when I finished high school. For me, I used to think that, so I grew up in Revere, Massachusetts, at 02151. My zip code predetermined everything. Right? I used to keep trains, work in sanitation, cleaning parking garages, basically every physical taxing job you can think of. But what I didn't realize is how much of I lacked mentorship in my life. Mentor came into my life and then brought forward a program called City Year. For me, wearing that red jacket and being in those classrooms, I was once there working alongside a full-time teacher, was representative of the students that we served. I took away a lot. Took away a lot of advocacy skills. I learned how to advocate for myself. Now I was always constantly trying to unpack my identity with the youth that we were serving. So I served in Jamaica Plain, Massachusetts, then I served the second year in Washington, D.C., where I led a team of City of AmeriCorps members, to then move into the city of Manchester, recruiting across the New England area to bring BIPOC books to the school district of Manchester. And I did that for 3 years. So for me, recognizing the powers of service and the powers of what individuals with the Red Jackets can do, really we created those bridges and those pathways to work with you. Did the same for me, what really pushed me into joining and doing more of what I do now, right? And I got appointed 2 years ago on the school board, so then being finally elected, right? So that for me, to share those stories with our youth, with our teachers, with our educators, to create those pipelines of educators. It's one of the biggest outputs of the program, right? And also to provide, again, that sense of representation that we really need in the city, right? We know that the city of Manchester is by far one of the most diverse cities in the state. Yet we struggle to bring in those very own mentors that look like our kids. And it's not to say that all of us here, and the current mentors and educators, aren't doing what they already are doing, or that they're not enough. No, I'm not saying that. But this program does provide those and identifies those gaps within the program. The model is amazing, right? Again, you're able to bring and attract youth to the city, which we need more of, right? Alongside various other nonprofits, we just need them to stay. We need to build up these pipelines as they're running dry. And I know from being on the school board side, we just need more. We need younger teachers as well. And we need teachers that look like our kids. Again, So again, for me, I've benefited so much from this program. I gave so much love to it, and again, it's the reason why I'm standing in front of all of you again, because I thought I was going to be a product of the system that I was raised in. Look at me now. So thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. Anyone else?
All right, thanks for having me. My name is Nicole Camilla. I'm a 5th grade teacher at Parkside Middle School. I also am a lifelong resident of Manchester. My 2 boys attend Memorial and Green Acres, and my daughter will attend kindergarten in the fall. I love this city. I was raised here. It was the place to raise your family when my parents were considering where to live. It was the city to have your children attend school, a place where they would receive a good, well-rounded education. When I was in school, we didn't have the support services that we have today. But then the culture of our city was different back then. You didn't hear much about the homeless population, nor did you hear about families suffering through addiction. You barely heard of divorce or single-parent homes, and foster care was not something that was ever on my radar as a child in the city of Manchester. Back then, the need for services like City Year, YMCA, YWCA, Boys and Girls Club, or MPAL were not as known as they are today in our schools. However, back then, MPAL did offer free sports programs that would serve as building blocks for our school sports teams, like lacrosse, a team I played for MPAL growing up. In today's world, we see all the things that may not have been as obvious or apparent when I was younger or when you were younger. As funding is received and it is decided which programs it should go to, I ask that you really consider the change of policy in our city. I hope that you will agree focusing on early support, specifically supporting our youth, is a key factor in combating things like homelessness or the opioid crisis. Many of our programs that have had their funding cut over the years directly impact our students in this great city. Programs like City Year, which I have the opportunity to work closely with, will be impacted by the slightest reallocation of funds. In the fall, I came to City Hall and spoke to the mayor at the time and the school board about the benefits of City Year. I told them how I wish and hope for the future that the partnership between the school district and City Year program would grow stronger and we would be able to have City Year core members in all of our schools. By cutting funds, that benefit will cause hardships for these core members to reach our schools that they're already at, let alone the ones that I hope that they would expand into in the coming years. City Year and the other programs that I spoke about focus on community engagement, partnerships with families, and help to give students a place to be after school. City Year core members host clubs after school and participate in all school community activities. MPAL hosts many free classes for students to experience different sports and activities who may not be able to afford them. Both of these programs offer a safe place for students to spend their time after school or in the evening rather than wandering the streets of our cities. Many of the other programs who receive this funding also offer those same safe experiences and opportunities. If we continue to cut funding for the programs designed to positively impact the youth of our city, we will continue to fuel the problems in our city that we are looking to extinguish. They say early intervention is the key to a strong future. We have the opportunity to provide funding for programs that will help to support students and keep them from becoming homeless or preventing them from exposure to crime and drug use. We have the opportunity to change our future by allowing these programs to continue their focus on youth of our city by building strong and safe relationships with our students. We offer them further academic support as well as extracurricular activities and clubs by prioritizing funding for City Year core members who are located right within our schools, focused on the children of our future each and every day. I ask as a mom that you consider the future of my children when you look at cutting funding for programs that support the youth of Manchester. I also ask that you consider not only my 3 children, but that you consider the children of my classroom and of my school. I believe that every student deserves a safe and caring person to help guide them and believe in them. Afford the students, the youth of Manchester, the opportunity to have the support that not only their school building teachers like me will give them, but also their programs after school like City Year, Boys and Girls Club, in the evening at MPAL, YMCA, YWCA, or on the weekends with the opportunities for the future, with all the opportunities for the future that all of these programs can afford them. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Maria Devlin. I'm the president and CEO of Families in Transition. And Todd, I just wanted to thank you and your As a nonprofit that benefits, we're really proud of the partnership that we have with the city. We couldn't do our work without many of you. Code enforcement for one, but of course CIP, CDBG. We're just happy that we have the partnership and we look forward to it continuing. I'm here with members of my team, Meg Shea and Erica Diamond, and we just wanted to say thank you. It's the first time I've seen kind of the money that comes in laid out in this way, so I appreciate knowing that a little bit more. And I apologize because myself and my team have to get out a little bit early as well, but I just wanted to say thank you for tonight's presentation.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jessica Givers-Lehue. I am a resident of Manchester, born and raised in Manchester. I'm a mother of students in the Manchester School District. I'm also a teacher in the Manchester School District. And tonight I just want to talk about how great the City Year organization is. We've heard already a couple of teachers and who support City Year, and I just want to echo everything they said. Manchester is made greater with our youth a wide variety of options to support them grow and to learn to make good choices. Every morning at my school, City Year are the ones who greet the students who walk through the door. They greet them with a smiling face. Every student is greeted by a City Year member, and it makes their day exciting when they get to see that smiling face waiting for them. They are our partner for our teachers at the school. They're an integral part of the support team for our students. They provide one-on-one tutoring for students with academic needs. They provide mentoring and social emotional growth activities for our students. They help to run clubs. They run family engagement nights. They help students to be a trusted adult in their life, develop their special skills, and kind of see a trusted adult role model in their lives. They are people when the students have a tough day. The City Year is the one that walks with them in the hallway, the one that helps them if they've been bullied, the one that is able to support them. And so as you are determining funding for the upcoming year, I just request that you grant the funds that City Year needs. We mentioned a little bit, City Year is only in a small percentage of schools. In my school, there's only 4 City Year members and almost 1,000 students, almost more than 150 teachers, and very few teachers get the possibility to work in the City Year. Very few students get that opportunity to have a City Year in their classroom. I can only imagine if we could amplify that, what a great impact we have on our youth as we support our city and our community to be a great place to live and work. So please continue to fund the City Year and allocate funds this upcoming year for the City Year. Thank you.
My name is Larry Nice. I live on Laurel Street, a couple blocks up. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. I've lived in town for about 15 years and in New Hampshire all my life. And I just wanted to note that a key part of getting the homeless off the streets and into some kind of housing would be intermediary steps, meaning you can't really go from A to Z. You have to go A, B, C, D. Z meaning a 2-bedroom apartment for $2,500 a month. And it takes steps to get here. Helping Hands is the organization I am the director of, and I've been so for 6.5 years after having worked at the Department of Corrections in town at the local halfway house on Lowell Street. So I went from 126 Lowell Street down to 50 Lowell Street, doing the same type of work. Now at what I call a 3/4 way house, where guys can come in off the street, pay nothing. They do have to show themselves to be motivated, to be responsible, and they might volunteer around the house or locally at first toward their fees, but with the help of money through the state program, the city program, has been very, very helpful to help support our case manager. Right now it's Fran Redonis. We also have back our LADAC Guy Torgerson to help these men get from the streets, from living in their cars, from living in a tent somewhere, into a house, into a home, into a place where they can receive life skills. Where my wife comes and teaches some life skills on Thursday nights. We have a chaplain there that helps out. We average about 3 deaths a year, believe it or not. and he provides really good counseling and for them as well. And this is just such a key thing to go from the streets. One of our men was thrown out of public housing because he was bringing in the homeless into his house and had been into some financial problems as well. So he was living at the local, in the local church garden where he was pulling weeds during the day, and we kind of allowed him to live there until it got really cold. He came to our place. Now he is hired by us 30 hours a week to be our cook, doing a great job. And today, as we went to the food bank, he said, Larry, if I do find a place locally to live, can I still work and be the cook here? I said, of course. That's why you're being paid, so you aren't inclined in our house, but rather you'll be able to support yourself no matter where you go to live. So funding for these types of programs are key. We have 60 beds available, short-term and long-term, and we're happy to see people, about 1/3 of our guys, progress to more permanent housing every year. So thanks so much for this partnership, and I hope we can continue.
Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Sharon McCarthy from Girls Inc. New Hampshire, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here and just mention our organization and to sort of pile on to the youth-serving organizations that were mentioned earlier. We pick up at 18 schools in Manchester and take those girls back to the Varney Center, Westside Girls Inc., and we are full all the time. We can hold 75, and we have 75 that are there for after-school programs and summer programs. And the programming that we do ranges from teaching them economic literacy, leadership skills, prevention programs, mind and body programs, which are so important to young girls right now dealing with some pretty heavy-duty issues, especially coming off the pandemic. We were able to serve girls through the pandemic. And just wanted to mention and remind everyone of our services and how we love to partner with some of the other organizations that are mentioned. And I actually have lots of volunteering throughout the program with you guys. And it's all together, you know, it's everybody working together to make things work. And I appreciate any consideration for the funding that we asked for. And we'll continue to do our job in Manchester. Thank you.
Thank you. Are any other comments? Why don't we go to, okay.
Thank you. I know I envy you all trying to figure out which multi-worthy programs to fund. There's so much good stuff going on. It's good to hear about them. So I'm a City Year alumnus. I came to Manchester in 2012 after graduating from UMass. City Year gave me the opportunity to step right into a well-established program and serve the community. And I was grateful to join. I worked at Beach Street School that year. I grew a lot as a leader as a result of that, and it really turned my life towards service, towards public service. I also found an incredible community there, people I like, and I engaged with the community and built a sense of place here. And here I am, almost 12 years later. And I'm not alone. The City Year brings in anywhere from 25 to 70 young people every year to serve, and a lot of them stay. A lot of them are teachers in our schools. They're doing other incredible things in the community. And then, of course, there's the student impact. They're working, 40 hours a week in the schools, intervening in attendance and teaching positive behavior skills and ELA, English Language Arts, and math. And they can actually use data to provide exactly the right instruction that students need to get caught up, kind of tailored, individualized instruction. Then there's the whole positive relationship. You mentioned the walk and talks. Those can both let the teacher teach to the rest of the class without disruption and support that student's growth and getting ready to get back to learning. I want to share one brief story, which is that after my year of service, for whatever reason, recruitment or funding, my partner teacher, Mrs. Eastman, didn't have a city year member. And she had, 26, 27, 28 students at Beach Street, many of whom had disruptive behavior. And despite being a fantastic teacher, I know those students did not make a full year educational progress. There was just too much going on. She didn't have enough help. And she actually requested a transfer and is at Highland Goss Falls now. She really just needed a city year there to support her in the classroom and make sure the students were making progress. So just in closing, I want to emphasize city year is low cost. The core members can tell you they could use more money, but it's an efficient and well-run program, and it's well established. It's gotten CBDG, CIP funding in the past. It's ready to scale up and already making a difference. So I'd like to ask that you fund them again in the coming fiscal year.
Thank you.
So, I also want to thank all of you for coming in tonight and talking to us about how much money the city receives. And it sounds like it's so much money. It sounds like we would do so much with that money. Oh my goodness. Now reality. The CIP can provide public service agencies with 15% of the CDBG money. Just under $300,000 a year.
Actually, my calculation this year is about $250,000.
$250,000. How many dollars worth of requests did we get this year?
Probably close to around 1.6 million or something.
Oh, it's down from last year, it was 1.9 last year.
Yeah.
So they received $1.6 million worth of requests. How do you stretch under $300,000 into 1.6? They do have a really, really difficult time trying to figure out where to put these dollars. Every agency sitting here is deserving. I run the community-based development organization. I partner with the city of Manchester. And as their partner and agency, the city of Manchester can contract with us, with MCRC, so that we can in turn accept the money. We don't fit into the public service cap. And therefore, we can partner with everybody here. So every agency here is either a current community partner or a past community partner. And every single one does amazing, amazing work. This year, we received, I think it's $701,000. There's still so many agencies that did not get funded this year. One of the other huge concerns I have, many of our public service agencies got funded this year so that the homelessness issues could be addressed. My concern is that the agencies that were bumped were agencies that, all agencies within the CDBO special activities, we are the safety nets that keep people sometimes in their houses, in their apartments, keep their kids in the after-school programs, get their kids with the medical assistance that they need, so many other things that are really, really required. And it's tough. I don't know how we do it. And if it were not for CDBO relationship with Manchester and with the city of Manchester, none of us would be getting funded. $250,000 worth of agencies would get funded. So it's tough. And I thank you all for every single thing that you do.
Yeah, I mean, to add on to Rainey's comment, I mean, last year in public service projects, probably, yeah, CBDO, 700,000, public service cap, maybe approximately 300,000. And I think, money was distributed to approximately like 15 different nonprofit agencies, and then in addition to that, 5 city departments, which also provide public service.
And so, you know, the money that's available for that is primarily CDBG money. And so that's, you know, around the 1.6 million. And then, you know, we're able to fund a few agencies that address homelessness, the 150,000. You know, that's 3 to 4 agencies there. And then with our home funding, the majority of that can only go to affordable housing development. And then, you know, one organization that does tenant-based rental assistance. So, you know, the challenge that we have as CIP staff is we also need to try to meet all the goals in our consolidated plan. So our, you know, objective is try to distribute, make recommendations and distribute funding in a manner that we're meeting our goals in our consolidated plan, which now is a 5-year plan. As a part of that plan, you know, there's performance benchmarks for each goal that, you know, over the 5-year period, we're gonna, you know, create so many units of housing, we're gonna provide public service to X number of individuals. So it's, as Rainey mentioned, it's a difficult task. So I guess at this point, if we don't have any other comments, then I'd like to thank everyone for coming and providing your input.